Captain to the bridge.
Yay. How's it going, guys?
All crew, we're now discussing the bridge, which I'm assuming most officers in reality don't get to see very much. I mean, can you imagine if you've got a 400-person crew? I mean, how often might the lowly ensign on, you know, deck 16, will they actually see it often, or is it kind of like just for those special few, do you think?
Special few for sure.
What's that bridge?
For sure. Okay, let's see. So yeah, welcome guys. Thank you very much. Sorry we're late. Oh, we got a super chat already. Joseph Petrick, €2. Thumbs smashed. Hurts like hell.
Oh.
Stupid button.
Wait.
Well, don't smash the button. I mean, you can if you want, but.
So yeah, oh that's nice. William Dyer says this is the discussion we were all waiting for. Or all season 4. Yes, now if you guys have noticed, we've done 2 on our season of looking at Enterprise, Discovery Enterprise things. We've done the briefing room yesterday, which was a roaring success. Did you watch the edit or not in the end?
Nope.
Click on the edit now, like watch it, and go to the... I mean, a little in-joke in it because I was pleased with myself.
And this is, what am I doing?
Briefing room.
Okay.
And if you go to... although, is it going to stop me from... It's kind of in the middle. I'm sure that helps. Probably been a better discussion off live, but that's okay. Waiting for people to join us, it's fine. As we always do, guys, we wait for a few minutes to let the people, you know, appear. Oh yeah, it's 5 minutes 28. Yeah, go from 26. It's when I say I'm going to guarantee it's a redress of the other room.
Mm.
And then I cut to the other room. So look at that.
Okay. All right, I will watch that right now. You vamp or something.
Oh yes, I'll talk to the audience. Hello everyone. Hello Stardog. Hello Spiderbreaker. 7 AM. Well, it's not as bad as it sometimes is. And we're live, Jamal Taylor. Yes. What's the point of the 2 yellow shirts at the side? I don't know. I think they're just saying hi. They can fit more than Enterprise. Yes, it's about 25 to 30% longer. With just a lot more internal volume. Even though the window size does not actually speak to that size, it's kind of a... We upscaled it after the fact. Oops. Because they started... Everything's kind of out of scale with itself. Yeah, did you see the...
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's actually very, very the same. I was like, oh, it's not as different as we thought. But that's okay.
Yes. Okay, guys. So gotta keep in mind too that we've only seen the bridge for 1 episode and not very much of it. I'm sure we're gonna see more of it in the upcoming episode on Thursday. Yes. So we're probably gonna do a follow-up video for this when we see more of the bridge.
Yeah.
And yeah. Just so you guys know.
When it's kind of
caveat.
When it's kind of lived in, because right now I mean, in terms of first reactions, I mean, they give us so many beauty shots, so much. You know, I mean, that first shot where they come out is exactly what you want to see, and it's nice. So it's been what, 4 days? What's your interpretation of what you've heard, like the greater fan base think from your reading comments and things of this bridge? Because you would think it's quite a controversial thing in terms of, you know, one of the 2 most classic icons. You've got the inside and the outside of the Connie.
Yeah.
What have you read?
Well, either people absolutely love it and think it's a perfect redo, or the people are like, damn, it's too bright, too many lights shining in my face. Get those, you know, get the headlights in my face out of there. A lot of people agreed with us. We talked in our last live about how shiny it is, how shiny the floor is, just how everything is so reflective and busy. So it's again, it's polarizing, just like everything else that we've seen.
But not in so much as polarizing good and bad, polarizing blindly loving it to creatively criticizing what is the weakness of it. I haven't heard anyone that says it's crap. Anybody. I think for the most part it's enjoyed by all. It's just some look past it as just a, you know, best we could get, and some still look for improvements.
And the general consensus as well is it's better than the iMac store, the Apple store, which I agree. This is the 2009 bridge we needed at the time. I would have been super happy with this in the J.J. Abrams movie. But
and then the shiny stuff would have worked well because all the explosions and like we know what happens in the movie would like sparks when we're flying and all this glow stuff. It's funny. I saw on a Facebook page we did the poll where you either like or love, thumbs up or heart something, which one you like, and it was like 800 to 50 for this one.
Oh, really?
Complete smash. Yeah, it was awful. Maybe like 800 to 100, but it was destroyed. I just think it's objectively better.
Mm-hmm. Joseph Patrick puts in another €2 and says, "Can you two argue like on the ISS Shinzo video?" I don't remember that. Did we argue? We never argue.
Were we being mirror us? Because we sometimes argue more and try and kill each other more.
Well, it's an ISS, so who knows? I can see us doing that. But yeah, guys, I mean, looking forward to hearing your thoughts as well. So if you're able to super chat or whatever, please do so, and let us know your thoughts. If you have any questions, anything you want to know about this bridge, there's a few little hidden things that we know about that are hard to see, but we need to get closer looks at these consoles. Hopefully we get a few console shots and stuff in the next episode. But yeah, if you need to put your opinion up there so everybody can see it, or if you need to ask us a question, super chats are a great way to do so, so don't forget about that.
A great comment by Jamal Taylor, and this is funny because my phone just added this feature. He said, "It's not 09 bad, but it's just as shiny, just with Windows 10 night mode turned on." That's really good, actually. I like that a lot. Very, very true. Very true. Guys,
Jason Bullock says, "I love how they added the gumdrop buttons to the consoles and pulled back on the displays some." I hate the term gumdrops because that's just stupid and not accurate. I prefer Jolly Rancher because Jolly Ranchers are clear. They look more accurate for that. Yes, there are some hidden there, and they were molded from the Ticonderoga consoles. They're really hard to see in any of these pictures. You can see them in the corners of most of these consoles, but it's a nice touch for sure. So,
and Wellington says, if this bridge came out in 09, people still would have cried foul. Yes, but because we've been so beaten over the head with the changes for 09, we're more accepting of not Trek.
But I wouldn't have been upset about this because this is a reimagining of the classic bridge. You see the cues.
Well, the thing is, again, it still wouldn't have made sense from the NX so much. But if it was old, that's why I say the 09 suffers from it linking at all to Prime, because it ruins its fresh look with having to link to, Kelvin doesn't link to NX, doesn't link to the time period. If it was just fresh from the get-go, then everything is valid, even if it's weird.
Yeah.
I
would. Yeah, at the time in 2009, I would have loved seeing this. To be fair.
Oh yeah. Oh no. It would have been hands down better. Same with the ship. I mean, we've said before this would have been but it doesn't necessarily have that same movie vibe. But it's a lot more grounded. The thing is, I would say if it was a movie vibe, you'd lower the bright lights because they're just obnoxious. You'd have like more dynamic displays because that adds a certain level of texture to it. And some other things. And guys, please do super chat if you would like us to read out your comment, thought. We're like over half funded by super chat, so kind of does help the channel, and we'll definitely read out what you will say. And I should probably share this, but we do actually have some cool visuals specifically done for this episode, comparing it with other canon bridges of the Enterprise era to look at it in the history of the era. And even a bridge that it took inspiration from, we think. But I'll keep it on. I'll swap to this picture actually for the moment while I vamp. But do you want to talk to the chat and maybe even say what you thought of the bridge when you first saw it? Because we sort of stepped away from that a little bit in our main review because we're waiting for other times. So I'm going to vamp now.
Yeah. Well, Joseph Petrick says you are suffering from the Stockholm syndrome, and absolutely we are. Every little thing they do right is like, oh, good job, guys, when it should have just been right all along. Anyway, I remember first seeing it, and I was impressed. I wasn't wasn't quite what I expected. Again, I expected a little bit truer to form, not eliminating the consoles on the right side of the bridge or the left, depending how you look at it. Because apparently they've added another turbo lift there now. There's a corridor behind those two stations, which is actually a really interesting touch. But I didn't really expect that. So seeing that was kind of like, oh, okay, that's all right. That's okay. I can forgive that. There's other good things going on that I really appreciate. So, but yeah, it was just the overall shininess of it, just the floor. I mean, even if you kept all the lights the way they were, just tone down the floor, make it a matte black or even carpeted, I think would be perfect. So I was very pleased with what we saw, and looking forward to more, of course. Adam Boots puts in £2. Thank you, Adam. If the screen is a window, then the bridge isn't rotated. No, I'm sure the bridge isn't rotated. I'm not going to get into the whole bridge rotated thing because it's really divisive.
Well, it certainly makes less sense if there's an actual window that you can just say, I mean, it isn't rotated because you can see the window. Like it removes that at all. Whereas a view screen, obviously, it could be any orientation, won't make any difference.
Yeah. So we're not going to get in that whole discussion. That's a whole other discussion for sure, with different evidence and things for both points of view. But no. So it's interesting. It seems to be definitely new construction. It's not a redress of anything we've seen before, which is interesting because they spent this time and money into doing this. We're seeing the Enterprise for these 2 episodes. Is this going to become the bridge of a regular ship now? It just seems like a little bit of a waste of money to build this set for 2 episodes and then the Enterprise goes bye-bye.
I mean, they did do that for Into Mirror Darkly, and they actually built more sets than this. And for their budget at the time was not as detailed. They decided to build them and only in a weekend the bridge, and also you had to do it ASAP rate. So 2-parters do, you do get double the budget. And if they were clever in other places, I mean, if they had no guest stars, I guess they have number 1. But if they had I guess they have Leland as well. But if they had less guest stars or, less this, less that, no, if they're only standing sets. If you can spend, 27 minutes on this bridge out of an episode, you'd probably pay for it. You know what I mean? Out of an episode.
Yeah. Wolfsbane Network puts in $1. Thank you very much. $1. $1. Do I hear $2?
And he also, his comment actually was, I think the bridge is gorgeous and the best looking set on the show. Yes, I would agree. But again, it's that. As I said in our review, it's that top 15% of literal polish lets it down because it doesn't feel as functional as it should be. It's just distraction. How many United States Air Force, aircraft carriers in their bridge have completely reflective floors? I doubt any. We can see your face and do play color scout with yourself in the floor. It doesn't quite.
I was going to say it rules out the addition of the TOS miniskirts at that point if they're that reflective. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no. Because they start because the floors are changed. It becomes one of those rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. People are going to love it or hate it, unfortunately. So
first reaction I had was cool, but honestly. It's more a case of most things they did right, but the things they did wrong really take away, in my opinion. As I said before, the sizing is a real problem. The ship being so much bigger, the bridge dome is so much bigger. You've got space to fill. And thank goodness that they didn't say, yeah, let's just push the consoles out further and further and further, because that doesn't ruin the design at all. Let's keep a central core like the Connie, although it's clearly bigger. Let's have an outer corridor. And I don't know if you read the article, but that was actually Alex Kurtzman's idea. It wasn't a corridor. There was nothing there. It was just going to be a smaller bridge. And they said, let's put a corridor back there. And they were like, okay, yes, boss. And I'm like, What functional purpose does that solve? I mean, sure, you don't have to go through the bridge to get around the bridge, but it makes those consoles look so spindly, and it feels like this massive open-ended space, not this like dedicated specialist control area. I mean, you could have 60 people on this bridge just back there doing nothing, or chatting in the in the behind the console corridor.
Yeah.
And there's definitely not 2 turbolift shafts in the outside of the designs. They designed the turbolift shafts, decided to screw it or put one there after they designed it in the top of the ship and didn't bother putting one on the top of the ship, which is another stupid thing. So I'm just, it doesn't work for me. It makes it feel more flimsy, much like a set, and not a practical work environment. And obviously, it's, you know, definitely wasn't in the Constitution class, and therefore it's even further from the sense of canon that we've been given. But you know, if you just close that up, it'd be great. You know what I mean? It's that, the floor, and the extra lighting. That's it. That's three pretty big things, but only 3 things. You know, I like the lights inside the banisters. There's probably too many lights in all of the steps. That's probably unnecessary. A little bit too much. Every step, every thing has to be a light panel, probably. Although I am guilty of some of that. I'm guilty of some of that in Convergence, but didn't go that far. Or did I? I don't know. But that's 250 years in the future, Stuart. Or one. I'm allowed to do that post Nemesis. That's fine. Super chat, Stuart.
You're allowed to do it in there we haven't seen before, for sure. But yes, Hopeful 3135 puts in £5. Due to this bridge being stupidly oversized, like the consoles, it looks a bit like the Star Trek 3 Excelsior bridge. At first glance, a little bit, yeah.
I'll find a picture of that for reference. Good point.
Yeah. Cedric Taylor 08 puts in $2. And Brian Harvard puts in $2 as well and says, Corridor was in the original Franz Joseph design. Corridor was not in the original Franz Joseph design. It was just a section that went around the entire bridge. And the toilet was kind of at the front, behind the view screen, or beside the view screen. So it's just an access corridor. It wasn't this section. So you're right and you're wrong at the same time. There's also an emergency escape ladder down to deck 2, right behind the view screen, in that back part. So,
and Dom agrees with the corridor, but Alex Kurtzman didn't know that. He was just saying, let's put a corridor. So you could say it's in reference, but if it wasn't intentionally designed that way, then it's not a reference. It's just let's fill up the space. And it would have been fine if there was a reason for it, I guess.
There might be something back there that they go back to take a look at. Maybe there's like a situation room back there with a bigger monitor and there's a table.
Oh, well, no, I just meant in the actual corridor itself, because just having a.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I get what you mean. But it's one of those things where it's there should be so little space in the bridge dome, but we know that in Discovery there's actually windows on the edge of the bridge dome as well, like very, very close. I don't know if you've done this before, Stuart, but if you actually put the TOS bridge inside the bridge dome, it fits to a T, and there's a little bit of room around it. But that's also the armor of the hull, and so yes, it's a walkway. It's not it's an access corridor thing, service thing, not a full corridor. So it's not the same thing. Clearly not the same thing.
Yeah, and I have made the 350 Enterprise with the little bridge inset, and yes, it fits perfectly in the upper part, with just a little bit of room around. So, Good Tea Nice House puts in $5 Canadian. Thank you.
Thanks.
If for some reason season 3 jumps to the year 2364, which I doubt, would the 1987 version of the Enterprise D bridge need another visual reboot in 2019? Yes, they would definitely reboot it. They wouldn't just use the same set. So
this team will reboot everything, and that's the unfortunate side effect of this process. Once you upscale the Enterprise and say it was always that big, then you've got to upscale every single ship after the fact, which means none of the rooms fit in, none of the bridges fit in, none of the decks are right, and now all the dialogue saying, they've got deck 36, then point it at 36. No longer deck 36, doesn't make sense, and it breaks down everything after the fact. And now if this is meant, this looks as advanced as the E, just like shinier.
Yeah,
like it looks as E as the E. So now you've got to update the E to look more advanced, which means the D, the Connie, the Excelsior, everything, and it sort of just starts ruining everything. It's a real shame.
Yeah. Why don't you pull up the picture of the Innermere Darkly bridge in contrast?
I can. So this is one of the images I made because we did get a visual update, a authentic visual update for 2008's Innermere Darkly, done by the Enterprise team, who were people that worked on Star Trek since TNG, that helped invent the future of Trek, went back to the past of Trek, and this is what they did as their interpretation of visual update. Because I mean, if you've got as obvious, you can't necessarily show the sets exactly as they were 50 years ago, but you can do other things, and this is a comparison of roughly the same angle. And I do love the fact they did show us the classic angle. I'll give them all credit for that. Your thoughts while I find the Excelsior, and why bring it up and such?
My thoughts. It looks super great. Not just because it's a very faithful recreation of an original Constitution class bridge, but because with the darker lighting, with modern filming techniques, as you said all along, you can make it look fantastic. The old sets, even just as they are, you can really update them. This could have maybe stood from one or two little, the upper console, the upper display screens. Maybe have something moving more like we see in Ticonderoga with James Cawley's. They got more advanced displays that actually have things going on, and that would be a nice visual update, but still maintaining this original look. And it's very easy to do, in my opinion, anyway. There's also ways to update the buttons, the Jolly Ranchers, or the gumdrops if you prefer, to make those look much more modern and not just a push button. I mean, you can have a toggle switch that can toggle up, down, side to side, be push sensitive, as well as like a double click up and down, whatever. You can make very multi-function button out of those. And I've always liked my idea of having like little holographic ones that rise up that are just red or yellow, but they're tactile holograms. It's a way to maintain that 1960s look, but create something new and advanced even for our time. And it's easy to do, guys. That's all we're saying. Somebody asked for a side-by-side comparison. We have that now, but I was looking at my side-by-side with the TOS Enterprise since we started. So, I mean, we do have comparison pictures here. So,
yeah, we're just kind of playing this by ear. How we vibe. But if you do some more super chats, and I'll talk to some people. RGD said stop bitching and stop watching. We're not bitching. We said it's actually a very faithful representation. I said it was the best set they've done in Discovery so far. I don't think that's a bitch, really. That's the biggest praise.
People hear what they want to hear, I guess. James Bruin puts in £5. Thank you. What's the deal with the uniforms, though? Why just crew? Now, did they call this out in a line of dialogue that it was just the Constitution class? The specialist?
They said new uniforms, and they implied we were some of the first to get them. But then you got to ask, were they first to get them literally in the 2 weeks they've been back to Earth? In which case, if they've got the new uniforms, others should have them as well. In which case, what happened to the Cage uniforms? Why did Discovery never transition to the Cage uniforms, which existed years earlier? If these are meant to be those uniforms and they're 3 years old, but they're not new anymore. Yeah. So it doesn't quite connect to anything, really. But certainly we've both agreed that people on Earth should be wearing the TOS uniforms anyway. Every time we see an Admiral, it should be in TOS, and Discovery's still using old uniforms. Despite we've seen uniforms taking about 3 seconds to build via the replicators.
We saw that in season 1.
So, I mean, it should literally be just a case of, oh, time for the quick update. Zzz. I mean, they did it, I said before, for the Mirror Universe, they changed the entire crew's costumes. And they made that in another universe without any supplies. As in, only supplies, so they should all be wearing TOS. I mean, if Season 3 isn't swapped to TOS, they're just screwing with people, because there's no reason they shouldn't. And, as someone pointed out, they look better than the Discovery uniforms. They do. I mean, they look crisper and neater, just smarter. So they should be definitely that.
Yeah. I find that the new representation of the bridge, honestly, has a lot more in common with like the Star Trek 6 bridge, just because of those huge displays and the color
And that
palette they
is
chose.
one of the visuals I have, Stuart.
Oh, it is?
Who'd have thunk it? Yes, that was my direct parallels.
Okay, then.
Had you not looked at these notes already?
I haven't glanced through the pictures yet, no.
Because I have that right there. That's hilarious. I agree. That's why there's an image.
There we go. Okay. Well, yeah. See, there you go. And I don't get me wrong. I love the new displays. I'm a sucker for computer displays, Star Trek computer displays, and the movie era has some of my favorite ones for just the colors. The blue and the green on the black background looks stunning. So I do really like that addition to this TOS bridge. I think it's a little much in a few places, but I mean, it's the engineering station. Of course, it's going to have displays like that at the Enterprise. The thing that bothers me, I mean, I do love them, the little multicolored lights at the top. Again, it's hey, this is what the displays look like in the TOS era. I just would have preferred them down below those big screens and like at the eye level above the other consoles personally, but that's just my thoughts.
And it's amazing now comparing these two. The bottom one looks better. It looks cleaner, simpler, but super functional. Every single monitor is in reach. Every display is in reach. The chairs look more comfortable. The lighting's very even and easy.
The lighting's great. Yeah.
I mean, this has always been the best bridge in terms of movie feel.
Yeah.
And just looks like a better bridge. Doesn't look as advanced, but it looks far more functional in terms of work. Like the bottom one's a place you work. The top one's a shiny sports car that you've paid for the extra shiny coat because I was about to make a dick joke there, but because you want to. The bottom one's clearly more just workable.
Yeah. Yeah. And just having the floor being carpeted is it draws your eye up into the displays, into what's going on, instead of kind of like it's just everything everywhere and reflections. And I don't know, I'm really not a fan of that shiny floor. I don't know why they chose that as a thing, because Discovery certainly doesn't have a shiny floor. It's got like a brushed metal look, so it doesn't really reflect anything. Which would have choice. Again been good. Yeah,
it's
a very weird choice.
I think I said to you off air, the Discovery Bridge is 5 steps forward, 4 steps back. Or like 3 steps back. It's like it's a big progression, but they make some really weird choices that hold it back for some odd reasons. But it's really far forward, but then,
like
sort of
this being the size of a basketball court. Yeah,
a couple of things. But again, that's better than Discovery Bridge, because that's the thing. Once you're inside the middle bit of the bridge, you don't see the corridors in terms of depth, so it feels like a better size. Discovery Bridge is just bad for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of visuals, I mean, unlike TOS, you have the light pillars, roughly. I mean, obviously modernized, or at least their versions, which is clearly 6. You've got the top lights in the rim, which is unique to that one. A clear connection, indeed. Even the console takes cues. I mean, we've heard before that they take inspiration specifically from this bridge. They've said that before, but it's plain to see a few more things. Even the way the banister railings connect to the floor is much similar in this bridge than the TOS, which would make sense. It's still it's the most advanced of its kind. So why not?
Well, as far as comparison pictures go, we also have one that has the cage and the TOS Enterprise on the bottom. I'd like to see that one, because this happens directly between the events of the cage and Kirk's run as captain. So, and people have been bringing up the cage bridge a lot during the discussion. So here it is. I mean, I love the cage bridge. It's lacking a lot of the color that the actual TOS bridge has. But I've said this all along, I prefer the cage bridge. I like the darker colors. I even like the displays on the engineering there, having the big display and the 2 smaller ones adds some variety. And I've always liked the cage bridge better. Here you kind of get that a little bit with the engineering station over there. There's a lot more going on than in the TOS one for sure. That bugged me about the TOS one, the fact that that upper monitor wasn't like it is in the cage there. I do like the multi-size approach, and even some of the visuals that you see on that display later aren't just space shots. They're actually like technical things in the cage. So they definitely carried that over to this one with the displays we see on engineering there. So I don't know. I'm not sure how much of these consoles we're going to see in this next episode. Probably not that much, to be fair. I would like to see some functionality in them, though, like show some damage or rerouting of power or something at some point. I don't think we're going to necessarily get that, though. But you can see that there was quite a few changes made between the cage and even the production run of TOS here. So anyway, yeah. Brian Harvard puts in $2 and says, if we get a Pike series, I bet they dull the floor. Well, we'll see. I'm surprised they haven't already or didn't initially do that.
It's funny, the Pike show, while it sounds great, and that's what we said, it has to be a Pike miniseries, a story told. Because as someone who actually worked on Trek pointed out, why do you want another prequel? And also a prequel that, you know, tramples on the Trek lore as it goes. Wouldn't you rather something going forward if you've got, you know, certain things to spend the money on? And wouldn't Pike show just be another TOS clone because it's a captain similar to Kirk and a Connie doing exploration, like it's just a TOS clone but modernized. What's the point? Wouldn't you rather have a future show with a future ship? This is why I say miniseries. Tell one story. You have a really good idea. Use the stuff. It's kind of like what they did with Battlestar Galactica Razor, where they had half the sets, they had all the actors, the costumes. They said, right, well, for half the money that's really needed, we'll tell a new story. This is the story we want to tell, and they'll sort of make a movie on half the budget.
Yeah, Dan23 says, can you compare it to the Enterprise bridge in DS9? Well, no, because they just used the forward section beside the view screen, which we don't actually. Well, we do see that here a little bit. But yeah, they just built that one section, and then the rest of the bridge scenes are from remastered footage. So it's actually the TOS bridge. So there's no sense actually doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did recreate the one section.
To let Cisco sit down, but then any walking shot, any movement shot is all green screen, just carefully rebuilt based on the set plans.
Which was great. They did a great job.
No use. Discovery doesn't trample on the lore, though. It adds to it. Pike series would be that same. We know nothing of Trek history between the cage and when I was gone before. So you don't think having all Terrans be sensitive to light is trampling? Because that doesn't make any sense. You don't think, you know...
And even with Giorgio, yeah.
Spore drive, not seeing the Klingons for 50 years, every war they shave their heads. I mean, I could go on how many times they trample on lore. Sorry, no, you. Pretty obvious.
They and if they do a series set in this time period, they're going to say something that contradicts something else, whether they realize it or not. So that's the problem. If you put it in a new time zone or time frame, you put it in the future, you can do whatever you want. As we've said since the beginning of Discovery, had they just said, oh yeah, this is post Nemesis, we've been like, wow, this is fantastic. Everything makes sense. The spore drive, the different funky looking Klingons could even make sense. Everything would work and nobody would have complained. Even the design of the ships, the square nacelles, even the Shinjo looks more advanced than a TOS ship. So it all fits beautifully. They could have just swapped the dates and totally been fine, you know?
This would have been a cool future retro, like we went back and, you know, used a classic. Chris Darling, you guys just nitpick. Nope, call out the good and the bad. If you can't judge a show by high standards, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's Star Trek. And then, so one more was the section from Relics and DS9 used for Enterprise? Anyone know what happened to the set? No, each of those sets was destroyed after the fact or went into part of a museum exhibition roving and end up being destroyed. Intermirror, everything for Intermirror except Sulu's bit and just the moving bit that was used from James Corley's set, but everything else was built from scratch and then destroyed after. Although it would have been great if that had been sold off to somebody, but no, it was destroyed every time. So no.
Yeah. Troy Macy puts in 4.99. Do you think they build the Enterprise bridge so they can do a Pike series? Probably not. Um, there's been no whispers officially of Ensign Mount being, back for that. If you'd think they would be dropping hints like crazy if that was the case. I think this is just going to become. People have related that because Discovery apparently, rumor is goes 500 years in the future for season 3, or has to wait as per Calypso. They're going to need another ship. They're going to need Discovery A or something stupid, and this can be refitted into that bridge moving forward. I don't know if that's the case, but that's definitely an option for them. But yeah, it's interesting that they actually built the set, and it's a nice set. So how are they going to use it?
It's very possible, though, as I said before, it might be used for short treks, because why not film 6 short treks that make up an episode? And then, I mean, you've got everything involved. You pay the actors over the course of... I mean, short treks you can film in a couple of days. You pay these guys for a month. That's it. And then there you go. You've got a really exciting web mini-series of short treks with the Discovery Enterprise. And how cool that be in between the 2 seasons? Because they were saying we will do more short treks in between. 6 minis. I mean, he's also your most popular character. I mean, that's the best thing. That's very likely they'll do something like that. Although Iron Aspect said it doesn't trample, especially since it's a reimagining. If I was what Ron Moore did with Galactica.
It's not a reimagining. Yeah. They've come out to say that it's Prime. They made a huge point of saying it's Prime. It's going to fit in with everything, and it's going to even tie in visually by the end of it. This doesn't necessarily tie in visually because we've seen this era revisited for, again, TNG and Relics, Deep Space Nine and Troubles and Tribulations. Intermere Darkly for Enterprise, and each time, because it's a period piece, they've recreated it lovingly and exactly as it should be. This is not a reimagining. They haven't said it's a reimagining. If they had, again, we would have from the get-go said, you guys have done a fantastic job, but to say it's Prime, that brings up issues, which a lot of people don't agree with, but we love Trek, and we're not that those people don't love Trek, but the Trekyards, we break it down, we analyze it, how it fits into Prime, how it doesn't. It's it's an argument we've been having since Discovery started. Yeah,
they've actively forcibly said it's not a reimagining. It's not an alternate, so no.
Kai Stewart puts in... Kai Stewart, that's awesome. Puts in £2. Prime Lorca for Captain and a refit disco is ideal. I'd like to see a Prime Lorca series, or a short or something. I'd like Lorca to come back. That'd be cool.
I mean, a short, but he's just... I mean, we know nothing about the Prime version, so just be another generic captain.
I'm sure we'd like him, though. I'm sure he'd be a good captain.
But the thing is, the actor is quite... He plays as hard-edged characters. You know? So I don't think he wouldn't necessarily want to be there and just play the nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and Joseph Petrick puts in another €2. Thank you, Joseph. Kurtzman said there will be 2 animated shorts. Ooh. Animated shorts interest me. That sounds very cool. But then again, Lower Decks is supposed to be animated as well. It'd be cool to see how that all plays out. There's a lot to look forward to here. I don't know if these... I was going to say maybe it could be possible the set could be reused for the Picard series or something, but it's being filmed in California, so that's highly doubtful.
That's all they're filming today, apparently. If the original things were right, when we start to film today.
Very nice.
If they didn't move it back, but again, that was the other rumor.
Yes.
Yeah.
4D Mike puts in $2. Monetary compensation to help live long and prosper. Thank you, 4D Mike. Very much appreciated.
It really does help. So I've got on a picture of the... Well, it's funny. This is actually a still from TNG because that is a slightly better remaster of the TOS version. Yeah. So this is from Relics. This is what Scotty remembers his ship looking like, and it's just a good comparison. It's a very similar angle, and it'll be fun to just talk it through. I mean, this is what it looks like.
And fun fact, just so you guys know, they needed a scene at the bridge with nobody on it. The only scene that they could find for that was this side of Paradise, right before Pike entered, or Kirk. Pike. Yeah, right before Kirk enters the bridge.
Goes in, weird time.
Yeah, there's like a 2-second shot of the bridge before the turbolift doors open and Kirk's standing there. And that's what they used for this scene for Relics. So an empty bridge.
Yeah. So with this, I mean, it's fun to see. Although actually, when I was doing research for this episode, you realize that. So this is what episode did you say it was? What episode? Sorry, did you say this was based from?
What? Sorry, did I?
What episode did you say this was based from?
Oh, This Side of Paradise.
And that is season.
Season 1, I believe.
Yes, because I went through and did some research, and when I went to season 3, it was missing. This bridge was missing that top of turbolift light grill effect. And so for me, I did not connect it with this. I connected it with things like the Enterprise E and some of the movie bridges. But now, side by side to the season 1, they did keep that. It's just slightly more prominent on the Discovery bridge. But that's a nice little call back. I kind of miss, though, now the turbolift shaft is so far off from the bridge. Because now the plaque is so far away, and there's no longer an alcove. It's kind of like a long walk. Like they had to invent dialogue for Giorgio to say, because it was such a long couple of seconds just to get
great dialogue too.
Yeah, makes no sense at all. It's even more red than this bridge. It's like an even darker blood red than the actual bridge, which is not orange, but I mean it's certainly an orange red for the railing.
It appears more orange in this picture side by side with the Discovery one for sure. Super Coops puts in £5. Thank you very much. Pike has been great, but don't want a Pike miniseries. As a Trekkie, I think new Trek should be new. Example, post-Nemesis. P.S. This bridge is good, but too big. That whole statement just mirrors my thoughts, so thank you.
Although someone just pointed out it would be fun to... I mean, why couldn't you have Pike in the Giorgio show? Not give him his own show, just have him be a leading man in that one.
Yeah.
You know, would fit well. I mean, you've got this... it's funny, one of my Facebook friends that does fan films said, Sam, Pike is Lorca. I was like, could you explain, please? And he's like, yeah. When Giorgio said, I'm from the Mirror Universe, and he winks, he's telling her that he's Lorca with his wink.
I mean, hey, that's a conspiracy.
As in Mirror Lorca mycelialed into his body, and I'm like, no, it's just him saying I know. It's in, you know what I mean? But the fact that he knows adds some dimension. I mean, I assumed he did. I don't know why you could not know. You know what I mean? Especially if he was that in charge of these operations.
Yeah.
But yeah, to have him in the Giorgio show, I think would work actually pretty well. He's a good counterbalance. He's what did Cornwall say? You were kept back because you were the best of us. And so to have him be the good side of the coin. Giorgio's the space Nazi. Okay, maybe less bad now. That's actually quite a nice touch, actually. And then it's the Pike Giorgio show.
And Frost UK says Pike isn't Lorca, he's Vok. That's a whole other vein of explanations needed there. Lorca better show up in the finale, says Robert Hayes. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm not expecting it nor needing it. But yeah, I mean, and there's certain things in that alcove that I find just aren't hitting with the reimagined bridge here. Like to the left of the turbolift there, you see the displays of the Enterprise, the top and side view. Yeah, there's a monitor in the Discovery reimagined one. It should be larger and it should have the Enterprise. Like the views we're seeing on the engineering there, to be that visual tie into that. And also the plaque. Yes, the plaque on the remastered one does in fact say Starship class. Doesn't say Constitution class, because that's because the TOS one also was a Starship class. But I mean, that's a great attention to detail. But again, you can't see the plaque really. I mean, I know Saru is in the way in this picture, but because it's back so far, Samuel's right. It doesn't have the same vibe. And also the lack of just the red alert thing.
Well, yes, but as we know, the red alert is in all of the light arrays. I mean, I'll cut to a shot of red alert now. But I mean, the bridge completely changes its vibe when going to red alert. Everything becomes a red alert. So,
red.
Stuart, they know it's red alert. I mean,
This is true. This is true. I'll give you that. But just visually, just for visualizing things, just
Yeah.
having a little square up there that could be a red alert thing, it's just something that catches the eye and goes, oh yeah, that looks familiar. Okay, moving on.
Robert Hayes, I think they have forgotten that Giorgio knows about the future knowledge from the Defiant. You say that, but that was a prime Defiant, as in looked like what it did look like. If you were now to retcon that Defiant as well, then now you're retconning Kirk, and now, you know what I mean. You're adding even more layers of what does what.
I
does
just
what.
put it up too. It's a reimagined, revisualized universe, despite what they say. So it's its own thing. It's the Discoverse. So.
Yeah, I just hope we never get to TNG because I have to redo it all and make it bigger, and none of the windows will make sense. And God,
And they
imagine
will.
all the time Andrew Probert spent making everything make sense, and they'll go back to him and say, Andrew, yes, make it 38% bigger, but look identical. It's like,
No.
you can't. Yeah, you can't do that. Go away.
I would love to hear the conversation. No. I'm not accepting the job. Goodbye. Oh, Jessica Butler later, everyone. Later, Jessica. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. But yes, no, sorry, I was saying I love where we go on tangents. But this is exactly what I said. I mean, this is why I'm impressed by the, as you said earlier today, the restraint in the redesign. Although to be fair, the amount of lights they put in places, I mean, it is like every area they could tweak, they did. You know what I mean? Everything that is there, they changed. But it's still there. And that's the restraint factor. You've still got all the primary elements. They're just hypercharged, but not in a comic way like they were in 09. Like the scanners on the things and all the crap and dust. Who the hell knows what? You know, it's much more grounded. But you can see the similarity, and I would not have considered, but I quite like it. You've got in TOS down below the ring of controls, which I think is quite forward thinking at the time. It's not, you know, not just banks of corridors. It's like, well, as I turn, I can use different things. That's actually quite clever. You can reach everything. And in this one, they've got one bank of one big touchscreen. Cool. That's a nice addition. But then you've got jelly beans outside of that for reasons.
But you notice too that every station is so much bigger now that it's got 2 seats to it instead of 1. It's not one operator with a curved thing. It's a curved thing taking up the whole console, but 2 seats, or room for 2 seats. So you still got to be sliding around if you're only one of you. But there's another shot that we had in our actual live review where you can see there's 2 people at each station. So it just shows how much bigger the bridge is.
I hadn't considered that, but yeah, they're double. They're sort of double slash half the function because you have 2 people in every single console. Holy hell!
Which makes those curved consoles not practical at all for 2 people. Because you got half a semicircle in front of you, you're reaching over here, but then you got the James Cawley buttons on your right hand side, that kind of console, which works, I guess.
Goodness, that's hilarious. You're so right, Stuart. I've said before. If you upscale, you create new problems. It's a trickle down of problems that they didn't have to have. And I found a picture. This is when Pike walks onto the bridge. And you can see where the chair is with this lady. She is in between the semicircle and the buttons. So yeah, what, she's using half a semicircle and buttons? Well, now you're wasting space.
Yeah.
And like, what's the point of that? I don't understand. Even though I lost all the form follows function approach. I guess, like, it's just hard. I don't know. Maybe the left hand display is what she's looking at. The right hand is the buttons, and then the top bits are. I don't know. That's a wonderful thing. Like I said, they obviously said to the designers, right, shit, our bridge dome is 10 feet more wide, 20 feet, 30 feet, or 15 meters. So we've got to make it look the same, but it's double the size. Shit.
Nobody will notice.
Nobody will know. Oh, I love that. I didn't consider that. But the thing is, that's the why it still works, because it's visually feels the same, and yet they've broken it in many ways, but it feels the same from the outside. So even though they've broken it, but that's their own universe problems that we called right from the get-go. Because now the Galaxy Bridge is going to be bigger. And now you've got, 16 people in the back wall instead of
why
4.
not?
And now Data and thing have double consoles. And is the middle bit now twice as big. So now there's 5 people in the middle. So now every time you saw Picard, Riker and Troy, you actually also saw Crusher and someone else, but you never saw them in the show, but they were always there in the 5 chairs. It's a bit
Somebody
daft.
said the chairs can slide. I mean, that was one of the cool things about Enterprise with the one person at the helm and navigation console. There was actually a rail system that he could slide on. Mayweather.
Are you sure they can slide?
They can't. You can tell. I don't think they can.
Because this same picture at the top, I mean, if you zoom in, they're both in the same functional spaces, which means that if either one was to slide, you still wouldn't get the use of the semicircle because you'd have to slide all the way up to to the other person, and then you'd be encroaching on his space. So either you're saying they're both outside of their workspaces, or they don't slide. And I doubt they built in the floor, like. You know what I mean? And again, that's poor design if one person has to do this. Like, that's a poor design. Just add more people, but then the semicircles don't make sense. That's hilarious.
Eugene puts in 1,000 rubles.
Oh my god, we're rich.
Thank you, Eugene.
Not really,
it's about time you showed up.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's that really? It's
£12.
That is a ton.
£12. Yeah. So is USS Defiant the Constitution class in Discoverse? It doesn't look the same as Enterprise, by the way. NX-01 Bridge is my favorite. So it's USS... Yeah, because we did see the wireframe of the Defiant that crossed over, and of course we've done an episode on Samuel made modifications to the Constitution class design to show how it would look like, and it was an odd looking ship for sure. It doesn't even follow the same rules as the Enterprise does as far as external configuration goes, so who knows. That's why I say it's just the Discoverse. It's its own thing. Let it be its thing. I enjoy it for what it is.
But that's the funny thing. They call it prime and connecting, which means we're allowed to do analysis that if it was just a full alternate we couldn't. You know, it's fun. It's like, ha, you made your own rules that we can show how you break. But no, I mean, as we know, that wireframe was designed by the art team outside of the purview of any actual ship designers. It was designed right before, so it was just thrown together. Assume that never existed. It wasn't important to the plot. Never came in. Like actively.
It just looked like this one.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be retconned in the next one. Don't worry.
Yeah.
See, that's the first. That's a visual. This is a visual update of their visual update of the visual update. So just think of that as always looking like that, even in the past of their own show.
Chairs in the middle of the semicircle at the other consoles.
Well, let's have a gander.
I remember it distinctly. Last time we talked about the bridge, where we could see 2 chairs at like every console.
Yes, there is there is a dude to the left, or the right, sorry, as a walk out. He's in the middle of the semicircle,
but
the other 2 are not.
And Jamal said it looks like there's a groove in the floor for the chairs to slide. It doesn't, because I'm looking at the view where Admiral Cornwall is just getting up from the chair.
Yeah, there isn't.
And there isn't. It's
I mean, the thing is, those chairs are something they got really right, as we know. Let me just zoom in. I mean, they're just the chairs, as they should be. But no, here's the chairs. And as you can see, it's got the exact same circle base. I mean, if they had a groove in the chair, then why on earth would you have a massive circle bit? You wouldn't. You would just have a pole that was sticking to the floor. Yeah. You wouldn't have this. And I've just digitally enhanced it. And no, there isn't. But he is in the middle. So I guess you just pick where you are? I guess? It's probably just wherever the actor put the chair in between takes, honestly. Although it's interesting how, looking at, and again, sorry, the delay, Stuart, but at the bottom, they have got the cutouts like I have on the TOS, but they're not lit. They've got a billion new lights, but didn't put lights where there were lights. And that could have kind of done from some multicolored lights just for fun.
Well, with the shiny floor, though, it would have been too much, because you would have had the light, then right underneath it would have been the reflection. It would have been like, Jesus. It's already too much with the upper lights reflecting off the front of the... Because I got the really pulled back shot now, like from the view screen, or the window. And you can see the upper lights reflected on the floor, and it's like looking at a pond. It's like there's too much going on. It's too busy. So adding another set of lights under there, come on now. With a carpet, it would have been great. Go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
But
No, you again says the Defiant in season 1 episode was modified over 100 years of being in the mirror universe, according to one of the writers. Yep. It's funny, and everyone bitched about that when it came out, and I just said it was modified. And I was like, yeah, obviously. It was modified from Eve's design with a straight nacelles. Pretty sure that's not the case. We've heard him, and it was done before his design, because he was asked to design the Discovery like 3 episodes from the final, to start designing it 3 episodes from the final, and he rushed it into doing, whereas that would have been before that. I'm pretty sure he didn't even know that was in the episode, so no. I mean, they can retcon that back in if they want, but we were there when that happened as well, and talked to people and such.
Yeah. John Harrison puts in 2 pounds. Big as it was, JJ Price used the space. I mean, yeah.
More consoles.
It didn't look like a bridge, though. It doesn't look like a bridge. It looked like, I don't know what it looked like.
Yeah.
Like an aquarium or something stupid. JJ Bridge is just awful. Sorry. Sorry. It just is not a great bridge.
And Tenzagari says, it would have been nice if the writers had a single line of explaining the Defiant 100 years difference, saying, that's a Defiant, looks different. It's true, they absorbed it looks so radically different without even noticing that it looked radically different. You would think they'd say, wow, they've really changed it. Because if they know what the Connie looks like, it looks nothing like the Connie. You would say, why are there massive guns on the wings? Nope, didn't even notice.
And if this is the picture I think I was talking about, if you get the one from the view, where it's at the wide bridge, on the left you can see 2 people sitting at that console. On the right you can see 2 people sitting at that console. Then there's only 1 chair at engineering, 1 chair at what will be sciences, that has Spock's hood thing, and looks like 2 people behind Pike at communications.
Yes.
So it works with 1 person in the middle of that semicircle. They've got access to everything except for the far bits. But you can also have 2 per station as well, right? So, I don't know. Anyway,
that's why I said
it makes me wonder too, why the hell is Spock standing over at engineering? He should be over the science thing. I know he's not a science officer yet. He's just a lieutenant right now. And then he actually gets promoted during season 1 from lieutenant commander to commander. My brother Steve was just telling me about this on the weekend. So yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter where he's standing. I guess he's doing his thing, but.
Although, and you say that, but he was in the cage at science console, so.
Yeah, but he wasn't the chief. He wasn't the science officer. He was just.
No.
Yeah.
But that person died.
Yes.
At episode 1. Episode 1, season 1.
Yes.
Yes.
Jamal keeps yelling that there's only 1 chair at communications, but I can see the communications is directly behind the captain. I can see 2 people sitting there. The station to the left of that, Jamal, with the hood and stuff, that's the science station. If that's what you mean. But communications is always directly behind the captain unless you get to the motion picture.
So, side note, now
Yes.
you've had more time to process. Those top coloured pieces. What are your thoughts now, having some more time to absorb them? Because I was kind of for them for the most part.
I like them. I think they're a nice touchstone to the original one. But like I said, I think they should be moved down, just at eye level, because that would seem more like the original one. Yet you still have the consoles underneath that are very functional consoles, and the bigger displays up top. I thought that was an odd placement for them to be up so high. But as you kind of said, with a lot of the camera angles they use and the blurred out, the depth of field background, it's a real tie into TOS to have those up there. But I think they should definitely been moved down a little bit, just between the, you know where I mean, where the console does the. I think that would have been a great place to put them, but I'm surprised they actually did that. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where when I redesign, as you know, I redesigned the Type F shuttle for the Avalon universe, same with the D7 and the Bird of Prey. So I've very much in the past 6 months been going and redesigning classics, but making sure that everything has, or at least almost everything has a function. Because if it's not there to have a function, what's the point? You know, when I designed my USS Horizon, one of the last steps was saying, right, we need the tractor beam emitters, because if any tractor beams, where are the tractor beams going to come from? The hull? No, the emitters. You know that because there's a checklist of things you need to have, aren't there?
Yeah.
You know, and so therefore the form must follow function. Otherwise, what's the point? Obviously, you can have aesthetic things. Find bird of prey. There's quite a lot of grates. You know, grills, grates, and mostly they're aesthetic, but each of which can easily be a heat dispenser. I mean, that's the nice thing about a grate. They're just, you know, they do their job, but they also create a really nice layered feel. And so when I look at this bridge, obviously the TOS one down below is very cleanly efficient. You've got a single console, boom. You've got your monitors, boom, to relay information, and above that you've got all bigger monitors to relay bigger information, although they are certainly teeny compared to the space they're in. You know, which they've done, they've updated. You know, I would, if and when I do my own visual update, I would just make that entire thing screen. And then, you know, if it's all one big monitor, you can create sub-monitors inside of one monitor. I mean, it's like tabs in a window, you know, you just create your own whatevers. And so I'll give them total kudos for doing what I would do visual update-wise. And I'm kind of impressed with the semicircle. I don't think I'd necessarily keep the semicircle. Just because, like you say, now it's a bigger bridge, now it's harder for more people. If you just have normal consoles, it doesn't matter. It's like just the other bridges that we see in later Trek, it's just consoles.
But you could... Yeah, even 2 semicircles would work.
Yeah.
Kind of like a split semicircle on each side would work. Or just have all clear display that can be reconfigured. So you could have like 2 semicircles or 1 center one. I mean, it's simple to do.
Yeah. But
especially with like the touch screen kind of vibe, right? So. And
so looking at the Discovery Bridge itself, I like for the most part, the bottom 3 levels. You've got the big monitor, the small monitors, the control interface. But then, while aesthetically I love the top multiple coloured bits, I don't know what purpose they serve.
No.
You know, when you have an aesthetic in a show like TOS, everything is a unified design style. So you know that these coloured blinkies relay information to people. That's how they do it. That's what they do. In TNG, the LCARS panel, there's still some blinking. Everything is a monitor. It's still blinkies, and oh look, if this button flashes 3 times, I know shield's down to 10%. Like it's still a system of use. You know, it's part of the system. This I'm seeing a very monistic system of controls, and then some blinky lights. I don't know what possibly they could be, because now you've removed yourself from the art style so far that it doesn't connect anymore. This is why I said to you earlier on, with this it was actually for Enterprise, make the LCARS, or at least we say LCARS are shorthand for display. We know it's not LCARS, but it's display. You give the general display, rather than the blues, that more multi-color tone, but all be modernistic displays. Then you've got the feel and look, but without having the look or feel. And so actually keeping the redundant stuff is now redundant. And it's confusing, and as they say, you can't reach it. I mean, what's the point? You know,
and it seems out of place here. It's like a disco light strip at the top for some reason.
Yeah.
But Ian Warrender puts in £5. If Jeff was here, he would give you some money and to offer to get to 200 likes. Great chat, guys. Love the bridge myself. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
And Fleet Paw Swiftback puts in $5 as well and says, we made it to 100 likes. I will go again at 200. Make me pay. Make me pay. See, he's making up for Jeff not being here. Jeff's on a trip right now, so yeah, these guys are doing awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a great shot of a close up of the console actually looking at the view screen just as Discovery is going to self-destruct.
Yes.
And it's great. Like there's a lot of functionality there. I like it. It has almost like an Enterprise like vibe, like a progression from Enterprise tech. And you get to see the big lit up semicircle, and a big trackball, which is neat. And you can see the starburst or jelly buttons. You might want to zoom in on those at the top and the left of the console there.
Yes.
Those are on every console on the corners, which is nice because they're castings from the original
Well,
the original configuration.
Yeah, the original replicas from Ticonderoga.
Yes. Yeah.
Which were based on the original, what they were based on, not the original molds from the show. So it's a real things just alternately done. And it's funny, the thing we heard most is that, oh, they'll never use jelly beans. That's so 60s and out of date, and it's pathetic and stupid. Well, that's one thing they kept over. So no, your assertion that jelly bean buttons aren't in the future are now bullshit. You're wrong. They chose to keep them, so now there is part of the design aesthetic still. Go away, you trolls. At least trolling the negativity with the jelly beans and the TOS aesthetic.
Yes.
It's funny.
Yes. But yeah, it's a great close-up shot of one of the, and this would actually be a good place to have that picture from Trials and Tribulations with Cisco, because it's the same station, honestly, and even the same camera angle. If you have it, if you can find it, I don't know. Okay. It's not going to make a difference, but somebody had requested it earlier, so I thought I might bring it up again.
Sure. I don't think I like the very bright line of light in the panel, though.
I don't either. I mean, if it's shining down on the instruments, I guess, but it just seems too much.
It's like it makes more sense to have the buttons light up themselves like the jelly beans, therefore they're each individually seeable, because you can see it reflects on the monitor. So you've now got glare on the monitor.
You got glare everywhere.
You got glare everywhere. But that seems redundant to me, especially when the monitor itself is a touchscreen. Like, it doesn't quite make sense to me, and it distracts, honestly. Although I do see there's slight colour variation in the right displays, are slightly yellow and red and blue, but it's real subtle. It should be slightly poppier. Yeah,
it should be a lot brighter for sure. And we even saw, like, on the Discovery displays, they've got the buttons around the edges of the displays and one on the bottom, and there was a few instances where you see like a little yellow one and a red one on the bottom strip. It's like that just needs to multiply, actually carry over that look. And that's essentially what they did with Enterprise too. They started out with a different color palette, but in the last episode, where they were a few years in the future, closer to TOS, they had the TOS colors doing the same kind of thing. So nice progression that way as well, and that would have worked here, as opposed to putting that strip of just random stuff along the top. Bright light, yes.
Okay, I've got some Cisco action. And, you know,
sorry, you cut out there for a second.
Got some Cisco action. You know, it's funny.
Okay.
You know what we do here is to look things deeper than most people will. That's why we've created a fan base, is because we analyze stuff. We use original models. We use a lot of reference. We really analyze and go deeper, because most of the time fans don't, and that's fine. But we've had conversations with our friends, and you get into long, heated debates, conversations. It's like, that's what we do here, and we get to be your friends on the internet.
And you're pulling up pictures on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're pulling up pictures on your phone on Google. Look, see, this is what I'm talking about. Zoom right in. Look at that. Yep. Now compare that to this. Hold on, let me find the other picture. That's what we're doing with you guys here. Yeah,
it's a conversation between sort of friends in a sense, and so I've always found it weird that I'm called nitpicking, because, you know, I mean, anything of any quality can be looked at. I'm sure people will look at, you know, the next Avengers, and anything that happens to be wrong with it, they'll point out. And doesn't mean that it's not wrong with it. Also means you can look past it. But if you don't look past it, if you don't want to talk about it, then media can get worse and worse and worse. If you never talk about what's wrong with it, then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Like, there's a reason that the next Star Wars film is going to be very different, because people spoke out about the last one. If people hadn't spoken out, it would have kept going in a weird way. And, you know, other shows, other movies, that they're problems and they get addressed and they move on, and that's how you grow. You know, if we hadn't have mentioned these problems to the Discovery people, we would have got a bridge worse than this, hands down. We wouldn't have got TOS uniforms. We wouldn't have got any of this stuff. So by us actively speaking out and pointing out the less good things, guess what? We've had better writing season 2, a better story overall, better characters. I mean, the show's improved because we've pointed out things, and they were like, okay, these are our top 10 things to change, and they've addressed most of them. It's just they're also locked into the sets they've already built. So I always find it weird that people don't, you know, but you're coming to us specifically to watch this content. So what content do you expect to see, except the content that you're here to watch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always confusing me that. Right. Got Cisco goodness. And this is this one they didn't try and visually update anything. It was very much a literal one-to-one. Also because they didn't have the budget to enhance anything except the physical miniatures of the outside, which they did do a visual update, and they look glorious. Glorious. Obviously, it was always hard to balance multiple images when you haven't sort of prepped it, but
Yeah.
there you go. Okay. Both monitors.
Well, I'm delayed, as you know.
No.
Not just mentally. Yeah, see, it doesn't look like the same animal at all when you compare them like that, but
Well, but that's the thing though. There are. See, I disagree. It's like a fan film has said we're going to basically use the same shapes but do everything different. Because instantly your eye goes to the semicircle and the same levels up to the monsters. Like it's the same thing. It's just a fan film of it. You know, it's we want to do a visual homage to it. Functionally not at all the same, but it's pulling from the basis, which, as we said, is all you really need. Good stories with a visual reboot at least tries to connect to the old stuff, because it's still a period piece, and hopefully we'd see Trek in Trek.
yeah. Sorry, I'm just taking care of something else real quick here.
I will vamp then.
My apologies. As you know, I'm going through some stuff, so I just need to deal with a few things.
So yeah, fundamentally, it's a cool bridge. I like the color palette. It's a little bit too blue, I think, overall. Let me bring up another Intermirror, because that's always a great comparison with the last modernistic approach. It's just a little bit too blue. It's sort of overdoes it. I'm trying to overcomplicate it, but where's the... There we go. Yeah. Yeah, and it's also that weird other blue. It's not even the TOS blue. Yeah. But I if I was redoing the TOS bridge, I would certainly smoothen out a lot of things. Having hard edges is very much we haven't got the time to build them smoothly. You know, even when I do VFX on my team, I try and say, well, I mean, this you wouldn't build a hard line like that necessarily on the edge. You'd have a little curve and just a little one, just so it's not a hard edge. So I'm like, please boolean that curve, please, just a little bit. Just want it a little bit curvy, not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah, I have not tuned out. I've got other things I need to take care of, which are time sensitive.
We're lucky he's here, everyone, and filmed some stuff this morning, because it was very hit and miss. Bad.
Hit and miss. It was a very bad weekend. I got in a car accident on Sunday, so I'm dealing with a few things insurance-wise, and just relax, people. Everything's good.
Although, it's more you got hit rather than a car accident.
Oh yeah, we got T-boned in Sylvia's new car, but that's another story that they don't really need to know about. I shouldn't have even said anything. I'll just shut up now. But I'm just, it's an email from the insurance thing, and they did it. Sorry.
Command Jelly Beans. Actually, no, I would not have kept Jelly Beans if I was building it again. I would have done little touchscreen. They would have been a full touchscreen, but there would have been visible multicolored buttons inside the touchscreen.
Like my idea better.
Which one's your idea? Oh, the full screen.
No, when it's off, it's black, and when it turns on, the holographic buttons pop up like so far above the console.
Yeah.
And they're tactile buttons that you can actually feel because they're holographic, right? So.
And it's funny. Forrest Penrod says, one of my favourite parts is the inclusion of the passageways from Franz Joseph technical manual around the back of the consoles. Yeah, but as we said before, that he was never intended to be a corridor so much as a little walkway for things to happen, because they barely fit in the bridge dome. So that's one of the things I most hate about this bridge is the absolute inclusion of a massive corridor, because it's a full corridor. Like it's a lot of wasted space, a lot of lack of function. Don't like that very much at all. Super Coops. Into the Dark did it perfectly. It's probably my favourite Enterprise episode. Yes. And when we see Jonathan Archer with some shots of the background out of focus and him looking there, it just looks so sexy and modern and you get a lot more production value out of the original stuff.
Yeah.
Dave,
And guys, don't worry.
no, it's
Everybody's talking about I'm fine. Sylvia and Christian got a little bit injured because they got hit on their side. Sylvia's resting right now. She got a sore shoulder, soft tissue damage, and a mild concussion. And Christian has got a abrasion on his arm and a black eye from the side curtain airbags. But the car might be fixable. Anyway, there you go. I'll talk about that probably in my captain's log this week if I have time to do one. But thank you guys for caring. It's just been dealing with a lot since Sunday. That's all. So,
David Ellis says the Discovery Enterprise design, bridge design, is what designers of Discovery believe the future will look like. Well, if they believe that, they wouldn't have such big rims of the monitors in the middle level. Like so much wasted space. That would all be monitors too. I disagree. I think it's what they think a altered future would look like of TOS. They're still limited by TOS because they're not that's the thing. They did a hybrid. They did a actual visual update of the 60s style rather than doing their own thing, which is what the Discovery looks like, where they've got the standing monitors, which are super unuseful, weird.
Yeah. I think they've dated their bridge design though. Just with all the lights, like the lights in the railings, the lights on the helm console, the lights every goddamn where. We're gonna look back at this in 20 and 30 years and go, wow, that's a 2019 look for sure. Why would they do that? I think they might have dated it a little bit by doing that.
Well, that's the irony. Same thing about having the alien engineer character talking very 2019 sort of hip speak, whatever you'd call that. It's super of its time, film noir people talking a very specific way, or musicals being a bit cheesy. Everything has a slightly different that. You can feel some things are from the 50s, 60s, 70s. That's very late 2000s, and it will age like late 2000s. Whereas TOS is, while it's obviously got some 60s influence, it was written to be not 60s, and the design is a unified form of it doesn't. I mean, that bridge doesn't look 60s. It looks like weird future tech thing. It doesn't look like the 60s. Trek is very good at not looking like when it was made for the most part, which is why it was even more weird when Voyager went to the same year it was made. It's like, that's weird.
Yeah. Dan 23 is like lights everywhere. Thank you, Jamal. I will pass that along. He doesn't have a rank. He's just nobody. No, he's an ensign for sure. But anyway, yeah. I mean, and we like I said when we started this, we still have another episode to go, like a full battle aboard this ship. So who knows what we're gonna see still. I'm excited to see some close-ups of panels showing damage or whatever. I think that'd be cool. It's definitely going to be more of a conversation at that point. We'll definitely revisit this as we have a better picture of what's going on with everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and seeing what else comes out of this. Maybe the bridge gets annihilated and they're like, oh, now we got to build a new one. Dun, dun, dun. No, they won't do that. Nothing changes faster than our vision of the future. Exactly. You're absolutely right. That's why Star Trek is its own storyline. World War III happened, the Eugenics Wars. It's a vision of the future from the 60s moving forward. So we shouldn't impose our future look and style on the original series time era based on modern tech. It should be what they've done all along, and painstaking job of reimagining or redoing it to look like it should, in my opinion. And
it's funny. I was watching one of the Star Trek Celebration panels, and George Lucas said to the art team, we designed Star Wars in the 70s. It has a reflection of some of those designs. Well, Phantom Menace is a period piece. It's in the past of that. So let's look at 20s. And so they didn't design the future of then. They said, let's use the aesthetic of a specific thing and make new designs based on that. And so, the Phantom Menace aesthetics don't look dated, don't look of an era. They have their own unique feel because they were invented to have their own unique feel. And Brian Harvard says, I'm looking at the Franz Josef Bridge blueprints right now. They not only had a bit of an alcove for the tow lift, but a huge corridor behind the consoles. Your thoughts, Stuart?
Well, it's not huge. It's like a service crawl, or not a crawlway, but it's a service thing behind, so you can get to the back of the panels. It also leads to the head, the toilet, which is beside the view screen at the front, and the little escape ladder down to deck 2 that's right behind the view screen. And yes, we're well aware of the alcove for the turbo lift. Like I said, we've been on this bridge multiple times, and it's a little alcove there, but it's not anywhere near as far back as that one is. And it's definitely not the space that's back there. As we mentioned earlier, if you build a model of the Enterprise, as I have with my 350, you got the little bridge module, you put it in the BC deck, fits in perfectly with enough room for a person to go back there and do work or repairs on the consoles, and then the armor or the hull.
But it's maybe a third of the size of that corridor. Yeah. If that. And I've also put it in 3D and it fits in well. And this is a comment I don't like. Devo77X says, remember, Gene Roddenberry could have made the TMP look exactly like TOS, but he didn't, implying fuck TOS, is what he's saying. Bit harsh there, but although was he still on TNG when Relics? Like, obviously he wasn't actually doing anything, but was he still alive? I don't know if he was still alive.
I'm not sure if he was still alive, but he was definitely not involved in TNG by that point.
Yeah, but what's
just a figurehead.
What's the difference though with TMP argument? I mean, did Gene then erase all of TOS? Is that what this man is saying?
Well, that's one of the arguments, that TMP is actually a visual update to the TOS look, as opposed to being a progression in technology. But that's totally wrong in my opinion. Phase 2 was more TOS looking, and they chose, because they have a bigger budget for the movie, that they'd upgrade things to look even more sleek. But it definitely falls in the line of the next progression of technology, the refit of the fleet. So he said, you are kind of right. He did say screw Franz Joseph's work. There's the pairs rule, so you can't have anything in the Franz Joseph technical manual like the Scout class Saladin ship or the Dreadnought, because you need a pairs rule. He did discredit Franz Joseph's work by doing that, but that was
Franz
because
Joseph was unlicensed to him. It was stuff made without his consent, without his knowledge, without his say.
No, Gene Roddenberry worked with Franz Joseph and approved the technical manual until they had a little bit of a spat, and then he discredited everything that he did. Which is a shame, but that's another story.
But simply put, TMP works absolutely perfectly because it's the future of TOS. He wasn't visually rebooting everything. He was moving into the future where things change. You look at 80s to 90s, 90s to 2000s. Look at phones in 10 years. That's just what happens. And so that's why prequels are bad ideas unless you respect the past. That's why Intimate Darkly was such a wonderful experience, because it was a period piece, but done later.
And AC Costello puts in $2, a couple of bucks for Trekyards. Thanks for what you do. Thank you very much, AC. Appreciated. And Good Tea Nice House puts in $5 Canadian. How much input would the captain have in the aesthetics of his or her own bridge? Erica Henderson bridge was slightly different than Archer's, as was the captain of the Lexington. In the Ultimate Computer, he had a different headrest on the back of his chair, a higher one. I'm sure they'd have a little bit of input, but it's not like a Klingon ship where everything's like personalized. You could probably have a few different options for your captain's chair, maybe what some buttons do, and the back of it. I don't know. Even in the Mirror Universe, the back of the chair had more of a like office chair kind of vibe to it. But that was the Mirror Universe, so I don't think there's much personalization in Starfleet. It's militaristic in its design, so you should be able to walk on any bridge and know where everything is as a captain. You shouldn't have to really worry about personalization in that regard. So, so I don't think there'd be much personalization. So,
And I mean, thing is, if you've got, I doubt there'd be many captains that went from say Connie to Connie, and so each ship would be, you know, I doubt every class would use the same captain's chair for reasons, you know. And so if you've been proudly, I'm upgraded to a new Connie, it's like, this is my bridge, this is my Connie bridge. It's identical, but I've only been on one Connie. It's my Connie, it's my bridge. This is new to me, you know.
Well, the Erica Hernandez thing, it's newer tech. They've upgraded the captain's chair tech a little bit, so it's a different captain's chair. You can say the same thing with the Constitution class, with the Lexington's captain's chair or whatever, and even the Defiant. The Defiant had rear-facing photon torpedoes. The Enterprise didn't. Defiant was a later model, had a few different extras. It's just progression of tech leading up to, this chair looks slightly different because comfort. I don't know. It's got the latest force field generator that keeps you all encapsulated, so it's like a seatbelt. I have no idea. But yeah, that's my take on that. So
yeah.
Yes, Adam Boots is right. He said, "Don't forget in Mirror Darkly they gave the Defiant a curved railing rather than the one with angles." Yep. Doug Drexler made a point that it's just a different bridge, maybe a later design because it does have the rear-facing photons, so instead of the sectioned off railing, it has a round one. So that would make this the Defiant bridge then, because it's got round railings in this reimagined Enterprise.
Yes. Two funny comments. Joseph Nash says, Gene Roddenberry predicted flip cell phones in the 1960s. No. Their creation sparked the engineers to want to do flip phones based on Star Trek. It wasn't, oh wow, coincidence. It was, we're making cellular telephones. What had that before? Oh, Star Trek. Oh, that looks functional. Let's do that. You know, they're all inspired. I think the first Nokia guy said, I love Star Trek. And then Dan23, a really interesting comment. There are Galaxy-class starships which don't have the same bridge. That's a funny old one. We did our episode on that, and it was like, I literally wrote like 3 more paragraphs in the script because you obviously use a primary source, but I like to look at little teeny things. And it's like, well, damn, the Odyssey and DS9 had a radically different bridge. And it's like, well, gotta mention it because obviously they had the D bridge, and then they didn't have the D bridge anymore. And so while they would have wished the timings would have worked better, just be able to film on the D bridge, they couldn't. And so they weren't and couldn't rebuild it. They couldn't green screen it, and so they had to reuse other things they had, which obviously the battle bridge and other sort of in between bridges. And so yes, you've got several galaxies, and like the Nebula class when Data was on the bridge. Again, not remotely representative of what it should be, quote unquote. But that's one of those real just production errors, issues, limitations. But as we know, bridge modules can be replaced and swapped out and as such. So it's luckily there's an obvious reason and also reason. You know, production costs / just different bridge module. You know. I mean, there are more than 12 galaxies, so it's a different time, a different thought process.
And Frost UK says interchangeable bridge modules? ? Yeah, the bridge modules were designed to be plug and play. So you could essentially stop at a starbase or a dry dock, pull out the whole module, replace it with a new one that was built at a facility, plug it in, it connects to all the hard points and you got a brand new bridge that you can turbo lift it up to or beam onto, and new bridge. I mean, with the latest tech, the latest upgrades, it explains all the differences in bridges during the movies. The only bridge that's the same in 2 movies is from Enterprise or Star Trek 2 to Star Trek 3. But that makes sense. It's only like 2 weeks apart between movies, and they were just coming back. So,
yeah, I mean, if it couldn't plug and play it out, we'd have 6 Enterprise A bridges, Enterprise refit bridges. You know, Michael Bush. I'm sure if TOS had a large production budget, everything you love now would look a lot different. Maybe, but that's kind of irrelevant because it does look like the way it looked. I mean, if Star Wars had a bigger budget, they wouldn't have had to reuse model parts for their miniatures, and we wouldn't have had, reused props and costumes and from other movies, and wouldn't have stormtroopers that were all this different sizes, despite being some clones left over and la la la. I mean, there's always things, but that doesn't take away from the reality.
That being said, TOS at the time was one of the most expensive TV shows in production. So it wasn't a cheap show at the time. So
state-of-the-art visual effects as well.
Yep, award-winning visual effects.
It's like, wow, you actually did compositing in a TV show budget, and obviously everything's a recycled. You know, they put the money in the front end and they recycled shots like a,
on a TV show timeline and time constriction. What they did back then was fantastic. It was amazing. So this argument today that from something that William Shatner said it was a cheap show with cardboard sets. Now this has trickled down to even the designer of this bridge, the whatever her name was,
Tamara.
In her interview, she actually says, we didn't want to look like cardboard. That right there is flawed thinking, and those people should not be in charge, because even in TNG, now that it's remastered in high def, you can see the paintbrush marks in some scenes. You can see the wood in some scenes. It's a set, guys. Of course, it's going to be made of wood and cardboard. But when they say cardboard for TOS, they're implying that TOS was a lot cheaper than TNG, and that's not the case. With inflation, it was on par.
And it is just so funny that 50 years have passed. Those sets still look great in their own way. Look at other sets from the time. Look at other TV shows that have aged, far worse. Look at some Lost in Space sets, or should I just say rooms with stuff in, I mean, Jeffries was a wonderful design. We've obviously listened to several of Doug Drexler's tours in Ticonderoga, and he goes into long spiels about how Matt Jeffries, used super low, because there's budget spread out. He had less budget than he would have liked to have designed. I mean, everything's created from scratch. So how do you create, 25 set pieces with, running at a budget yourself? Because obviously everything will be more expensive, but you've got to split that out over lots of things. And he came up with really great shapes that all had a sort of functional reason that were interesting and la la la. So one nice thing about TOS, it's such a cohesive art style. So I think one of the things that sets it apart, everything has its own, and art feel and concept, and Jeffries made it all to make sense. This is one of the sad things about other sci-fis and a lot of the new to Star Trek, is that it's not made to make sense. It's made to entertain. And unfortunately, if the entertainment part isn't on point in a certain episode, and you start thinking about things or breaking things down, then if you haven't got that core, it all starts to fall down. One of the Fun Trek sites posted a memo today from Rick Sternbach to Gene Roddenberry, or Rick Berman, I believe it was, saying about how just a thought he had about how torpedoes work with shields and stuff, just so, if they gave them memos of how things work, then they could use them for the show. And he was thinking these things through, because then when there becomes problems, I remember, again, a similar story, Michael Okuda read one of the scripts from TNG and had to say to the team, it's like, the engines don't do this. They're like, what? It's like, I mean, just what you're saying here, the ship can't do this, because you're saying it does, and they're like, but we won't do this. And he's saying, no, everything has to make sense. Even if you create a technobabble reason, there's rules in technobabble. And then you start breaking down, and you can watch as a unified verse. Yeah,
well, I just did a captain's log recently on the familiarization manual for the Motion Picture Enterprise Bridge. They actually made up a manual for the actors that showed their consoles, what every button did, how things worked. Would know which buttons to push to make it look realistic and have a flow and be able to, be copied by someone else. And that's the way this needs to be done. This isn't done anymore. Now it's just random button pushing. It's a real shame, because they used to take a lot of time in that. And as an actor, I would want that in front of me. I would want to know what the buttons do. I don't want to just randomly push things. Randomization doesn't look good. You can't make a random act look really good. Even in TNG, the way that they handle those buttons, they actually, there's a pattern to the way they do things, and each person has their own style with it. But I mean, it looks good, and the buttons don't necessarily, they're not labeled, whatever, but they're trained professionals. They know what they're doing, and even in the context of the show, the characters, they know what the buttons do. So, and it shows, because there's a nice flow to it. And then you see a guest star come on TNG and try to do the same thing, and they obviously didn't take the time to really think about it, and their button pushing doesn't look good. But anyway.
And David Ellis points out, you could make it like TOS, but they'd be creating a show that was a look back at what we thought the future would be.
Oh my god.
I mean, the thing is, Trek's not the future of our universe, it's the future of the Trek universe. We didn't have a Third World War. We didn't have Henry Sterling create the processor. We didn't have any of the things. So it's obviously not our universe. And so that's a silly argument because we know what the future looks like in their universe. It's a period, everything, you know, it's a period piece. We know the NX, we know what, 400 years, 250 years, even to the point of Enterprise J, and you know, the Botany Bay. Like, we have all these great indications of what the times look like. I mean, that's still what they look like, you know?
Yeah. And Devo77X says, so you're saying Enterprise did a better job with looking like a prequel than Star Trek Discovery? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It had more of a submarine vibe. It had more of a antique, like older style monitors and you know, actual push buttons, and still had the buttons on the touch screens as well. It was a nice integration of both. At first glance, yeah, Enterprise might look a little more advanced than TOS, but when you really think about it and look at it, it's actually much older technology, and it feels that way.
Well, that's the great thing about doing a prequel 80 years earlier. That's a long time, you know. As we know, Intima Darkly, you look at the colony next to the NX-01, you suddenly see the rivets, the divots, the plating. The NX-01 looks outdated because it looks like an old style of, well, you know, why do I see plating?
Yeah. And Eugene puts in 250 rubles.
Thanks, sir.
However big the budget could have been, the design still would be from the 60s. Yes, but Matt Jeffries did a fantastic job. As Doug Drexler said in his One Talk Attack on Rogue, the way that he angled the consoles for the transporter and the desks, they look like they're almost defying gravity. So he had a futuristic eye, and everything flowed together because it was all designed to be similar. So yeah, I see what you're saying, but Matt Jeffries did a fantastic job of, you know, doing a futuristic look. Super Coops puts in £5. I'm sure you guys have seen the TNG technical manual. Shows the level of thought that went into the show. Or Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise. Awesome. Yes. Absolutely. Rick Sternbach, Michael Okuda, what was her name? Laura Johnson, that did the Mr. Scott's Guide. They really thought things through and made the things on screen make sense. So, absolutely. We need a Discovery manual. I want to see one.
Yeah, I need to explain why the escape corridors have no visible exterior hatches.
Oh, yeah.
And how far do they go in the hull and all that stuff. Yeah. But it's a funny old thing, because that's a problem with doing anything like this. The bridge is good. Has a few flaws, but it's good. But you can't compare the Discovery visual reboot aesthetic to anything else, because it is its own identity. It's not trying to be the past or the future, as in TOS. It's trying to be its own thing, and so we give it kudos for at least trying to be its own thing of the past set. And as I've said, and this will probably be the last time I get to say it, Stuart. You ready? Last time I get to say it. If the setup can be as good as it wants to be, if the payoff's not good, hurts the setup. And so this next episode, we will see the payoff. And it's been fun to hear all of the comments. I mean, obviously, if they don't hype it up, some people might not watch or pay or whatever. That's Kurtzman and the team saying, you know, next episode, canon problems will be addressed, and some visual stuff will be addressed, and blah blah blah. You know, I mean, one of the nice things, I think we've said this from day one of even season one, would be if, right, like because you know, at the end of season one they sold us on the Enterprise. That was a big tease. The obvious thing would be to have at the end of season two, Michael Burnham come out of a tower lift, and she's wearing the blue TOS uniform, and then she walks onto a slightly changed bridge, updated to look more like this or whatever, and the entire crew's wearing, you see Saru in his new gold, and everyone's in the, and it's like, ooh, now we're getting to some, you know. So it's simple victories they could have for sure. Because I think 2 years is pretty good to get out of costumes that are fine. I think that's pretty. I think you've used the budget well, and they've made at least 10 uniforms for background extras for the Enterprise. I mean, obviously not that expensive if you can make a plethora of extras. Why not give them to the 8 main cast?
And Michael Bush asks, is that 2 turbolifts?
Yeah. Even there's no exterior way for it to be in the hull, but whatever.
Yeah, it is. Daniel Dunlop puts in $20. Thank you, Daniel.
Oh my god, really?
The trick to successful sci-fi retcon is to make the viewer believe that the changes are just small practical things that they missed before, with only modest changes to things that are obvious. Example, the chair. And it's to be continued, this comment, so...
Yeah, no,
keep an eye for it in the chat.
The chair is pretty much a perfect visual update. It's the old, but a modernized version of the old. Yeah.
Which at first glance just looks like the old.
Yeah.
When then you get closer, you see the details.
And before we get the next 2, we weren't getting that many super chats. This time I was getting a little bit, not sad, but like, okay. And then you two chaps have just saved the stream in terms of like, yeah, it's a success. So guys, woo! Dreamer and Daniel, crazy people.
Dreamer out there puts in $10. Thank you. And Daniel continues his thing with $10. Says, if JJ and Star Trek Discovery had done that with only slightly noticeable changes, for example, the chair, I think we would all be happy. Someone with some real influence needs to make that point to CBS. Yes. You just made the point to CBS. If anyone at CBS is watching this, which they probably aren't.
But that's the difference between making a TV show for Star Trek fans and the general audience. 2 very different ways of doing it, because the general audience won't care what the old things look like. They won't care about continuity. They won't care about things making sense. It's just if it's a good story.
And Eugene puts in 250 rubles. I don't mean 60s design is bad. It's just futuristic design from the 60s will eventually become retro futuristic. Therefore, you should do sequels, not prequels, or you risk doing bad visual reboot. Yes. And we said this since Discovery started. Why shoehorn into this timeline and change things? They should have been post Nemesis, and then everything would have been hunky dory, fine. We would have been super happy and been just enjoying the ride.
Yep.
But
although it make us less content, I mean, we enjoy these sorts of analysis because, as we've did with the chair and other things. I mean, when we compared the chair with, as you guys saw today, the chair and the cage chair and such, you actually have to find something that, oh wow, they did even more difference that we would never have seen unless we actually did this show and analysed and really thought about stuff. And so, by having such controversial topics to discuss, we actually find more about the original Trek. So that's actually kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah. If the rumors come true about the CBS Paramount merger comes true, maybe this mess will be cleared up. Like even the other bridge chairs here, while being almost 100% exactly like the ones from TOS, they're different because they don't have the 3 triangle things on the back. They're 25% different still. Everything's still got that stink of 25% different.
And not for legal, but for creative. But or whether it's legal, we don't know.
Just yeah.
Oh, Mike P. Wonder how many people will be complaining if there's a post Nemesis. But that's the funny thing about this bridge. It would be a totally fine post Nemesis. You just say, wow, they really went hardcore with the TOS reference. Cool.
Yeah.
But that's it. Yeah.
Well, all design flows, and same with fashion. We always go revisit the things, just more updated. So it's like, yeah, it's a callback to the TOS styling, but modernized. Everything goes in waves like that. So, but yeah, I think we're still going to hear complaints with the Picard show, which is obviously post Nemesis. Then there's going to be the whole, well, what about Star Trek Online? Is it you're shoehorning in between that and TNG? It's like, well, not really canon, even though it's the most officially licensed non-canon that there can be, I think. It's just there's so much in Star Trek Online because of the nature of the multiplayer game that you kind of have to ignore it as part of, because you wouldn't have old ships. You wouldn't have old uniforms. You wouldn't have ensigns captaining ships.
Yes.
You know, it's just it's silliness.
Yeah.
It's a game. It's a game setup. The main storylines you could kind of keep intact with the characters that we've seen in TNG and Voyager, maybe. But you got to ignore a few things.
And same thing with the novels. I mean, just like with Star Wars, you know, they're novels up until like 50 years post Revenge of the Sith. If you took the novels as all canon, what do you skip everyone 80 years post Revenge of the Sith, and then, you know, you've lost all that nostalgic feel. And the same thing if you go with the novels, if you make them canon for Star Trek, which novels? Because some of them contradict. If one novel says this and someone says this, well, are you going to retcon one out? But what if it's important to a bigger narrative? Things like the Aventine novels, Destiny things, like they add some really advanced technology that breaks the universe, at least semi, you know. Whereas you lose some of those hallmarks of the older stuff. What if you want to make, you know, I remember I pitched to you having dilithium be a rare resource in a post-thingy future. That's the cool thing that limits the world. You know, if you've got other things, it's not a problem.
But all you have to do is go back in time to Zahatha and get the queen who can recrystallize dilithium and take her to the future, teach you the tech, give you the tech, then you got the way to make dilithium in the future. So
the entire first season of Picard is finding the lost secret of the living planet.
Yes.
Although breaking news, don't know if you read this in the William Frakes, the Jonathan Frakes article. He confirmed there's 10 Picard episodes, and a director is doing 2 at a time. So the first batch is the guy that did the short trek Brightest Star. He's doing episodes 3 and 4, and then they're doing 2 at a time. While it's not 2-parters, it's like just sets of a story. So it's like 2 chapters. Although I would still think that implies like mini narratives within a story, and so it's kind of like you get to make a movie each time because 2 episodes is a movie. So it's like 5 mini movies. So 10 episodes. Wow, far cry from 26 in a year, 24 in a year, 22 in a year. Got 14 in a year with Discovery. Now we're getting 10 in a year, and they're more expensive than they made for 22. Bit funny, that, isn't it, Stuart? It's like if you ask now, would you rather have 22 good stories at a lower budget or 10 at a higher budget? What would you pick?
More episodes, because you got some hit and misses in there. How all Star Treks have been, because there's some TNG episodes like, oh, I don't want to watch this again.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that, you know, doing one big VFX sequence can cost as much as filming for 2 weeks on a standing set.
Yeah.
And that's one sequence can be 1:50. You know, things are expensive now. Well, because everything's, you know, expect to be movie quality, you know, or at least closer, you know.
But yeah, heading back to the bridge to kind of close this live out, because I gotta get going soon to make a few phone calls. So I'm really happy with it. It's a lot better than it could have been.
Yes.
It's not what I had imagined, of course, because, you know, we can't we all have our own visions of what it should be, and nobody's ever going to be happy when they see what somebody else their idea of it. So I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot better. It's great. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it for sure. I don't know how they're going to incorporate it into season 3, because I don't think the Enterprise is going to be back, and if it is, it's going to be like a small part. So they got this whole set. Are they going to redress it, reuse it for another ship? Who knows?
Well, a different Connie. I mean, there's no reason they can't bump into another Connie. It doesn't have to be the Enterprise. It could be the Lexington. It could be the Excalibur. It could be the Defiant. How funny would it be to have? How funny it'd be to have the Empress Giorgio show be surrounded around the idea of the Defiant. Like, she's on the Defiant for half the season, and part of it is to get it to the point where it can go back in time. Yeah, like that's part of the storyline is on the Defiant. And you know, and then you get really cyclical about that, Stuart. How cool would that be actually if then Giorgio puts a message on the Defiant, which then goes back in time, and she then reads it and changes the Mirror Universe timeline, and she keeps her own throne. That'd be a fun storyline. Like, the whole season is to let her undo her own timeline, because if you change the Mirror Universe timeline, like, you can only do that with certain things, but you could easily do that with a Defiant and change their timeline. and it'd be so subtle that it would still be mostly the same up until a certain point. Because why wouldn't she still want to be emperor? You know, beyond the trying to get killed all the time. That'd be fun. That'd be a fun fan film.
There you go. You got no one to rate.
I know. Top 3 favorite things about this bridge.
Captain's chair.
Yep.
The fact that the turbo lift is placed properly and offset.
Okay.
And the attempt at the multicolored displays. Again, could have been done a lot better.
Yeah.
Other than that, small little things like the railings and stuff are kind of cool with the addition of the light bar in them. That's kind of neat.
And I'm scrolling. I should probably put it on the live, but I love their version of the astrogator. Is that what it's called? Sulu's pop-up thing.
Yes.
I think that's a really nice.
Oh no, the astrogator is the thing in the middle between the two. That's the scanner. Can't think of it offhand now. Damn it! I don't know my tech manual either. Targeting scanner, targeting sensor, targeting scanner. I think. I don't know. Anyway.
Yes. So I think I'd give him, that's cool. Give him a lot of credit for that one.
Yeah, but does it retract? It looks like it's fixed in this one.
It's kind of a gimmick that it came out. I think.
Yeah. Well, just cleaned up the lines of the thing to have down. You know, made it look clean and sleek, and then it pops up when needed. Eugene puts in 100 rubles. Thank you. Will you do season 2 finale predictions live discussion? I don't think we'll have time.
I mean, you can do that tomorrow night if you want. I'm sure that would get some people. You and Sylvia could always do that if you've got time. I'd love to see. I'd love to see what Sylvia thinks. Because I'm not here tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on tomorrow for the live yet, but yeah.
I'll get like Christian on. So what do you think? I don't know. But what do you think? Asking point blank questions. Do you think Red Angel's gonna do this? Yes. See how many gets right by pure luck. My favourite things are I was so confident I started saying Cam's chair, I mean you can't go wrong with that. It's super close. The chairs, the TOS chairs, the fact they work so well. And I think the overall fun of it works well. It's that, I think I said this on our review, it is stronger than some of its parts. Because the overall vibe is, yeah, it looks like TOS Connie mostly. We start breaking it down, there's a few problems, but overall it's like, yeah. You know? That overall sense of, and as we said before, it's as good as the Discovery team could have done. Because it's still the Discovery team. You know, that I hope aren't working on the Picard show, the art designers, all those guys, because it's not the right team to work on that show. But hopefully it's whatever. Worst 3 things, Stuart? If you had to say 3 specific things, I think those are all the pretty obvious things. But for
worst
you?
3 things, yeah, the floor for sure. The high buff polish on absolutely everything, and the big lights beside each panel that are just shining at us forward. Yeah, and yeah, that's probably good for me.
Yeah, floor, corridor, and probably now you brought it up, the lack of thought with the consoles, that they while feel the same, they're actually now functioning less useful, which is a shame.
Yeah,
but
I kind of like the corridor behind there. Actually, I think that's an interesting idea. I'd like to see what's back there. But
for me, it's just such a symptom of the bigger problem of screw it, we'll upscale it. Oh damn, we've got all this space we've got to fill. What are we gonna do? Put a corridor. Okay. You know, it's just a symptom of a problem. It's a symptom of the greater problem. But good bridge. Is this funny thing when we start at the start of the episode saying it's a good bridge? It's kind of like not very far to go, is there? Because we like it. But final super chat, guys, and we can then go off and do something else with our lives.
Yes. And don't forget, there will be a live tomorrow. I'm just not sure on what or with who, but we will be doing something. And then, of course, Thursday is the season finale with the first reaction video at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then Friday, we've got our regular review that comes out in the afternoon. And then our live review, which might be a longer one. I can see it being longer than 2 hours for the Friday one, just because it is the season finale. But we'll see about that. I'm not sure. But yeah, join us for 5 Eastern Standard Time for that as well, of course. So
yeah, sounds good. And then you'll see our full review on the Friday, a live review on the Friday, and then I'm not here from Saturday to Monday, but I've still got to make Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's videos. So we'll see how that goes. My departure times are based on when I finish editing, because I'm sure lots to discuss after the season finale. Yeah, as they said to you, all the questions will be answered, all the canon problems addressed, and as they said in season 1, it'll all line up to TOS by the end. It'd be great to read that. It'd be fun to supercut to whenever that was said in interviews.
Yeah.
It would just be funny. But yes, guys, come on, final super chat, then we can go home, even though we're both home. But you know what I mean. I'll just put up a nice picture of the Intermira Darkly Bridge while we wait, because that's a good looking bridge. Yes.
When are you doing a live stream on the Orville's latest episode? We're going to wait till the season is done, which is not this week. It's next week is the finale. Then we're going to, the following week, look at 2 or 3 episodes and then do the last on the Tuesday, those episodes, and then the last 2 episodes, because they're probably like a single story, on the Wednesday. So look for it, not this upcoming week, but the week after. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Dreamer out there puts in $2 and Fleet Paw Swiftback puts in $1.99.
Yeah.
Here we go. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, 279 people. It's amazing still listening to us ramble about the Enterprise Bridge. I think we're about 310 at most. And thanks so much, guys, for joining us in That Was Not Words live today. Thoughts? Stuart, you say the outro because I'm burning out of tiredness.
Yes, me too.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
No, something. Say something. Say we
Join us
love
on
you.
Patreon. Just check out the links down below. Lots of cool stuff to look at. And by all means, check us out tomorrow and Thursday for the first reaction review, and Friday for the full final season finale of season 2 of Discovery live at 5 Eastern Standard Time.
Say that
Bye.
you love them. Yeah.
I love you guys too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Ruddy. Super Coops, £2. Final super chat just because. Good live, guys. Thank you very much. Great way to go out. Thank you very much.
Bye.